Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning to our guests from Germany and good evening to our guests from Asia. I am pleased to welcome you to the penultimate event in our series Neighbouring Russia. My name is Martin Fischer and I am working for Friedrich-Naumann Foundation's North Rhine-Westphalian office, and together we have already discussed the political changes after Russia's attack on Ukraine in 8 countries or regions. Today we want to look at North Korea. Both countries are connected by a border of just 13 kilometers length, but a decades-old partnership. So how did leader Kim Jong-un behave after Russia began the war? This we will find out from Professor Dae-jin Jung, whom I would like to welcome. Professor Jung is a professor at Halla University in Wonju, Korea. His fields are international law and inter-Korean affairs. He earned his PhD of Korean Unification Studies at Yonsei University. He is a standing member of the Presidential Peaceful Unification Advisory Council and the member of the Policy Advisory Committee for the Ministry of Unification. He's also a TV news commentator for foreign affairs. This event will be moderated by my dear colleague Sung-eun Lim. Sung-eun Lim is program manager of the Friedrich-Naumann Foundation's Korea office. She is responsible for Foundation's activities in South Korea. So, dear Sung-eun, a warm welcome to you as well.
Thank you so much, Martin, for the invitation, also for the warm welcome. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, and hello from Seoul. And I would like to welcome all the audiences to today's web talk on North Korea, focusing on its relationship with Russia after the outbreak of the war in Ukraine. And we have many questions on this issue, particularly North Korea and Russia relationship raise a lot of security and geopolitical concerns in Northeast Asia, in particularly on the Korean Peninsula. So I'm very happy to have Professor Dae-jin Jung as our expert to share his insight and expertise on many questions, important questions related to this issue. So thank you so much, Dr. Professor Chung, to join us. And I would like to start with very basic questions for our audiences to make them better understand the very nature of the key elements of the foreign policy of North Korea in general. So Professor Chung, could you maybe start to provide us briefly about the general picture, the core elements that shape North Korea's foreign policy in general, and then could you elaborate a little bit more on its foreign policy focusing in Russia, then how it has evolved over the past years?
Thank you for having me. It is my great pleasure to join this interesting session. First of all, I would like to describe the North Korea's foreign policy as the foreign policy of North Korea is mainly based on the dual approach. The first one is ideology, and the second one is pragmatism. The ideology is, as many other socialist states did, also North Korea declares its basic principle of the independence, autonomy as a socialist state in the past. And then, but in the real world, the North Korea performed its foreign policy based on the pragmatism, mainly focus on the Western part. And then mainly focus on the relationship with the U.S. I think the North Korea's final destination of diplomacy is the U.S. And then it strived to make normalization ties with the U.S. In the several decades, but in vain until now. And during that time, the last year, the war outbreak in Ukraine, and then their attempt, North Korea's attempt to make a normalization ties with U.S. Has been in vain, and then it was devastated in the real diplomatic world. But it doesn't have any fruitful result from the outside world. But from the last year, North Korea, I think North Korea get a new chance to make a breakthrough by itself as utilizing the outbreak of the Ukraine war as a new chance to gain support from the Russia and to make a new close ties with the China, and then the North Korea can have a room to maneuver in a diplomatic ways after the outbreak of the Ukraine war. And it is from the several years, the COVID-19, and then the extension of the sanctions from the U.S. The North Korea has gained a very big pressure from the outside world. But from the last year, I think the North Korea make and then seek a new room to maneuver in a diplomatic ways.
Thank you for your answer, Professor Chung. So I understand that North Korea its kind of ultimate goal is to normalize diplomatic relations with the U.S. So, and then it's trying to find a way through supporting kind of in the context of the war in Ukraine. But as far as we understand, North Korea was extremely strong in raising its supportive voice towards Russia. I mean, it was one of the first country who blamed, who went against the UN's resolution condemning the Russia's invasion in Ukraine. And at the same time, it is also one of the very few countries which diplomatically recognize the breakaway states in the eastern Ukraine. Don't you think that will somehow endanger or the diplomatic relations with the U.S.? Because instead of just keeping relatively cooling distance from the strong stand next to the Russia, you could have just opted rather silence and a secretive, ambiguous support to Russia. So what do you see the situation in this context? Do you think that standing strongly next to Russia will somehow help North Korea to regain the momentum to get the U.S. back to the negotiation?
From the last year, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has declared that the international order has changed from the unipolar order to multipolar order. That means that the unipolar order, as you are well aware of that, he means that unipolar order led by America. But from last year, the leader Kim Jong-un declared that the international order changed to the multipolar order. And I think the North Korea has an ambition to be a main pillar of the multipolar order international society as a de facto nuclear power. Mm-hmm. During this time, I think North Korea would like to make a way and make a way to be a main part of the multipolar order as a de facto nuclear power, and then strengthening the relationship with Russia and even China. And then he would like, that North Korea would like to gain and then gain the power and support from the all the allies of Russia and then China. And then it has a plan to be the main part of the Russia, China, and North Korea geopolitical alliance. And then next step, it will make a new deal with the U.S. I think at some point, the North Korea will turn its way to the dialogue with the U.S. after making a very good stronghold with the Russia and China. And so anyway, the final destination of the North Korea diplomacy is the U.S. and then it will last cease its attempt to make a new phase of dialogue or a new phase of relationship with U.S. But it may need based on the support from the Russia and the China.
Okay, maybe then referring to your explanation, and then maybe I would like to ask maybe more specifically the relationship between the closer tie between North Korea and Russia. How does it affect the relationship between China and North Korea in this regard? Because you already mentioned that North Korea will strengthen trilateral alliance between North Korea, Russia, and China. But how specifically does the stronger tie between North Korea and Russia will strengthen China-North Korea relationship? Can you could you please explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, it seems that the Sino-NK relationship is very close and stronger than Russia and NK relationship. But at the decisive point for North Korea, at the decisive point, Russia always assist and support the North Korea's explorer to the outside world. For example, in 2005, there was a September 19 joint declaration regarding the North Korean denuclearization. It was the result of the six-party talks. The participants of the six-party talks was the South Korea, North Korea, the US, Japan, Russia, and China. As a result, as an agreement of that kind of six-party talks in 2005 September, the U.S. endorsed the wiring money from the Macau Bank to Pyongyang, but there was a full of sanctions at the time also, and then no Chinese banks do not have the wiring the money from the Macau Bank to Pyongyang. But at the last point, the Russian bank did the wiring the money from the Macau Bank to the Pyongyang. That is the very decisive point for the Pyongyang. And then so traditionally North Korea always pinpoint the importance of the relationship with China, and then geographically it is very close. But Russia always be the last support at the decisive point for the North Korea during the diplomatic history. And then I think the reason why Russia helped North Korea at the decisive point, because I think for Russia, the North Korea issues is the very useful and then beneficial chip without with less burden. I mean the China for China, the North Korea is the front yard of the China, and then China share is a border with a very long distance, but the Russia shares is border very short distance, just only one city. And then the Russia, as for Russia think itself as a Eurasia states, not Asia states. But China, for China is mainly based on the Asia, and then the North Korea is the front yard of the China. And then relatively, it will be very big diplomatic burden if something went wrong from the front yard of the Chinese. But for Russia, the North Korea is a very useful bargaining chip and then beneficial bargaining chip. If something went wrong, Russia cannot accept Russia. Russia just accept the result of the fails of the diplomacy. But something went very well. The Russia can also gain some benefits and then make another stronghold against the United States by utilizing the North Korea. So at the decisive point, Russia always be a very big supporter for the North Korea. And then it seems that relatively the traditionally in average the Sino-NK relationship looks very closer and stronger than Russia-NK relationship. But I think at the decisive point, the Russia always use the North Korea as a turning points of bargaining chip, and also North Korea depend on Russia at the decisive point. And recently, 2019 April, the Kim Jong-un made a maiden trip to Russia after he is taking in office. And then it was just 2 months after the no deal of the Hanoi no deal. There was no Hanoi no deal with the U.S. summit. And then after the North Korea and the Russian summit in 2019 April, the President Putin make his statement on behalf of Kim Jong-un that U.S. should take consideration of the North Korea's reasonable concern. That means that Russia will play a spokesperson of the North Korea from that time, from that April of 2019 Russian NK summit. So I think that the Russia and North Korea we could interact each other at the decisive point in the diplomatic phase.
Thank you. You already mentioned denuclearization talk, and so I think it's time to maybe ask one question about nuclear weapons, nuclear tests by the North Korea. And as far as we know, Russia has been a bit critical about North Korean's nuclear weapons development, and Russia has even joined the sanctions by the United Nations Security Council. So, does the outbreak of the war in Ukraine has any impact on the change of the stance of the Russia in relation to the nuclear weapons development by North Korea? Do you think the Russia has changed its stance on nuclear weapons developments and tests by the North Korea ever since this particularly outbreak of the nuclear of the war in Ukraine?
Yes, absolutely. Until 2016 and 2017, Russia also cast his ballot to join the U.S. sanctions against North Korea in the U.S. Security Council, and then Russia is steering and looking at and then waiting for the result of the North Korea and U.S. summit and inter-Korean summits during the 2018 and the very early of the 2019. But from the April summit between Putin and Kim Jong-un in 2019, I think the Russia changed its stance toward the North Korean nuclear power. From that point of the summit, the Russia has started to utilize the North Korean nuclear as a bargaining chip to deal with and then to talk with the United States. And the United States is the Trump administration is in 2019 April in 2019 Hanoi no deal from the Hanoi no deal in 2019 U.S. administration exactly President Trump does lose his interest in the North Korean nuclear diplomacy, and then the Russia gain his leverage at that point, and then Russia started to talk with and then make a new relationship and then make a stronger relationship with North Korea, and then some point endorse its nuclear power, and then play a spokesperson of the North Korea. The Russia has attempted to make a new friends in the Far East Asia. Then the North Korea became the very good partner at that point. And then at this point, the Russia also endorsed and then utilized North Korea's nuclear stance. But and then the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, Russia would like to also utilize the North Korea's nuclear stance by endorsing it, and then North Korea and Russia hand out the new kind of resolution at the UN Security Council suddenly to relieve the sanctions against North Korea, and with that various kind of diplomatic chip, Russia is now utilizing this nuclear power North Korea as a big bargaining chip against the US, I think.
So, given what you have just explained, I can see that the nuclear development or the North Korea's endorsement as a nuclear possession states that will bring a huge impact on the security, geopolitical security situations in Northeast Asia. So maybe Professor Chung, how do you see the future of the geopolitical situation in Northeast Asia around North Korea and Russia relationship, particularly in the context of nuclear development? How do you see the future?
Yes, it's very complicated and difficult question to answer. To be honest with you, who knows the futures in this context of the nuclear progress in the Northeast Asia? But but the one thing is very clear that the nuclear weapons should be reduced, and then we should strive to make a way for the nuclear-free world. But at this point, for a short period of time schedule, we may go through the very severe and difficult times in maybe 5 years or 10 years. So North Korea will find a way to gain endorsement from the US and then the other international society as a de facto nuclear power, and then as the strategic competition between US and China worsening, the diplomatic loom will be getting smaller and smaller. And during that window of opportunity, the North Korea will gain more nuclear materials and nuclear powers, and then the Northeast Asia situation will be getting worse than before, and then the stability will be very endangered, and then the previous post-Cold War period during the last 3 decades. And then I think in short term, the stability of Northeast Asia will be very in danger, and we will we are going through the very severe situation. It is sure, but everything has a cycle of up and down. If we can call it this period of the situation is a down period, we will sometimes maybe we can find out the upcycling the subside time cycle at some point, as European did in the during the last 20th centuries. I think Northeast Asia is sometimes in the 20 years or 30 years after all, we'll find a new way and a new hope finally, I think.
Thank you very much for your insights. Yeah, I mean, we have 2 minutes left, but I think we can quickly try to get an answer to one question from the floor. I think I also wanted to ask this question, but thank you so much for posting that question for all of us. Yeah, this is the question related to the arms, this allegation that North Korea has delivered like ammunition and artillery shells to Russia. I mean, so what do you think about that allegations? Of course, Russia and also North Korea have clearly denied the allegations, but we know that the United States even shows like imageries, satellite imageries showing the rail car shipping off some items. So what do you think? What is your assessment of this allegation? Do you think it was it true that they delivered the military?
Yeah. Yeah, it is highly likely to trade ammunition and the food for North Korea and Russia. I think two countries can regard it as a trade to help each other. But it is our reasonable assumption. But it is an allegation. But nobody knows. And then just nobody knows the truth and then the real evidence. But the one thing is clear that we should end the war, and then that kind of allegation and then that kind of the conflict will not will not repeat again on the Northeast Asia. I hope so.
So you think that it was highly probable that there was a delivery of arms from North Korea to Russia?
Yes,
even though there was no evidence.
Yes, it is important for us to make that kind of allegation should be disappeared at some point after the end of the war. So.
Okay.
We should seize the word. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the war in Ukraine does actually raise serious security concerns in Europe, but it's not limited to European continent, but it's really raise serious security concerns in North Asia and in the rest of the world. So hopefully the war will end soon. That's and then also end the more casualties and the damages of Ukraine. I mean, thank you so much for. It's time to close the session. It's 30 minutes. It's not enough at all to cover all the questions and the issues related to North Korea and Russian relations after the full attack on Ukraine by Russia. But I think we somehow try to cover some important points. So I hope that our audiences could enjoy our discussions and could gain some insights from the talks. Before ending our session, I would like to announce that you will have next episodes on Japan. I mean, how did Japan responded to Russia after the full attack on Ukraine? So at the same time, next Thursday at the same time, 9 a.m. in Germany. So I hope you could register again and to stay tuned with us. Again, thank you so much, Professor Jung, for joining us and giving us very insightful ideas and views. And again, thanks so much for the foundation, Martin and Maria, to organize a great event and to give us opportunity to share our ideas on this topic. So I wish you a very successful and wonderful day, and hope to see you sometime soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.